All right, welcome back, everybody. We are ready to get rolling. This next panel, I'm quite excited for. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll let them bring it up here on the screen. But what I will say is that 2/3 of this panel are almost fit to be on stage, and the other will be absolutely lovely and very well prepared. But this panel, do we have the slide? There we go. This panel is titled "Fiat is Ruining Our Culture." And we have the lovely Flo all the way from Chile, and she's a wonderful artist. She's going to be moderating here. We also have MADEX, who does incredible art. If you haven't already perused some of his work out in the lobby, please do, because you are missing out if you're unfamiliar. And of course, the wonderful and hilarious JP Sears. Let's welcome them all to the stage.
Are we still supposed to be roasting Ben? Yeah, I hate him. I love him.
So, hey, thank you so much for being here. I hope you are so happy as I am. And thank you to everyone. I'm very passionate about this topic, and it's how Fiat is ruining our culture. But I also hope that we can go to a more brightful perspective on how is also Bitcoin going to fix our culture. So my hope is to examine here the profound impact that fiat currency has had on various aspects of our society, specifically creativity, arts, and culture in general. And so the first question for you guys would be, how would you explain this idea that fiat has ruined our culture?
Yeah, to me, fiat, it functions the way MADEX looks right now, and I think we know it's just not good. But also, like, I'm not a biologist, so I don't know what a woman is, I don't know what money is. But when I look at fiat, to me, it represents the old paradigm of centralized control. And I think that paradigm, it's not only going to die, I think it's in the process of dying. The old paradigm is where people outsource their power to something other than themselves. And we've been doing it in all the ways, outsourcing our perspectives to the news. And we can see that's dying, luckily. We outsource our food supply to something other than ourselves, outside of local farmers. And we've outsourced our holding of value to something other than ourselves, oftentimes our federal government. Mine in the U.S. sucks, y'all sucks, so, welcome to the club. But I think the new paradigm that's emerging is one of empowerment to the people. And I think, fiat currency, that's disempowering to us because we're outsourcing our power. We trick ourselves into believing we don't have the power that we actually do. In the new paradigm, which I think Bitcoin is not only an essential part of, but I think it's also a digital archetypal representation of what we're moving towards with everything. We're reclaiming our power in how we live our lives. We're reclaiming our own perspectives. We're using our own God-given brains to make up our minds about what we think. Instead of outsourcing that, we're becoming more responsible for many other things. And with that said, I think Bitcoin is our store of value, which is saying it so simply, but I think Bitcoin is our store of value as part of the new paradigm of how we're reclaiming our power and taking it away from people, authorities, and I would dare say even evil entities that never deserve to steward our power in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll say that I was throwing up in the trash can before I came out here, so
he was.
That's why JP made those comments. It has nothing to do with the way I look. It was just
But also,
very nervous.
but also the way you look.
I think in every category that we have of product or services that we interact with on a day-to-day, we can see the damage that Fiat is doing, from contractors not delivering on their quotes properly due to a variety of reasons, like jobs not paying high enough and being focused on bigger jobs because there's just it's no longer possible to maintain a good services business on little kind of handyman tasks, and in product where we have this culture of disposable everything, disposable appliances, disposable clothes. It used to be that you would buy one washing machine that would last you for 20 years, or my mother still has the vacuum cleaner that she got when she moved to Canada, and it still is excellent. And anything that comes off the shelf these days may not last the afternoon. And Bitcoin, obviously, news to some, but many of you guys are already pretty deeply involved in Bitcoin. It changes the incentives for our purchasing decisions, and we want to try to not spend Bitcoin. We want to buy something that is of quality and is built to last, so that we don't have to spend Bitcoin again in the future. And I think that people are ready now for these changes. I think, as you were saying, JP, we can see it as we look out, that even in the Bitcoin world, certainly, and even kind of in the normie world, there's a desire for stuff that is real, and we can even see that in the Fiat architecture. Things were just built so coldly and so soullessly for a long time, and now they still are, but they use fake wood patinas and they use fake stone, and so it's kind of I see it as a strive back to these sort of timeless things, they're reaching for the castles in Europe for the high quality restaurants that we that end up being bougie places, so that there is a demand growing. And I think that it's been long enough of this disposable, throw everything out environment that people are just kind of sick and tired for it and ready for a change. And Bitcoiners, we know how to fix it, and the people who are coming into the Bitcoin space or are just looking out in the world and haven't discovered Bitcoin yet, I think are starting to seek out higher quality environments, higher quality content. We can see that with the success of your work over the last couple of years, and just better quality in general. And I think it's time. It's time for Bitcoin to change this.
Cool. Yeah, I agree with you guys. It's crazy how the quality has diminished, and it's people. It's you're forced to buy crap because otherwise the money you have loses its value, and then it's this ongoing a snowball that's going and going. I see in these Fiat culture manifestations today that it repeats that the manifestations display a lot of despair, sadness, or decadency. And I wonder if creators are mirrors of the time we're living in, and also if do we have the possibility or the strength or the power to shape our culture intentionally to the direction we would like? And would love to hear what you guys think about.
Do we have the power to shape our culture the way we want?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe we do. I think we're waking up to realize we have the power to shape our culture the way we want rather than having it shaped for us by outside authorities. Then maybe their institutions were originally created with good intentions, give them the benefit of the doubt, yet maybe they're not operating with the best of intentions right now. And the old paradigm that I mentioned, I think it's one that's become use the people for the power of yourself. But we're going into people reclaiming their power, and I do think the step that we're currently in the, we all know we're either going to live in the Great Reset or the Great Awakening, and I personally believe the Great Awakening is happening. And I think the step of that we're in right now is people increasing their awareness about what's going on, which is the first step, because you can't get out of a jail you don't know you're in. And then the second step is people becoming aware of the power that we've always had. It's just kind of like an elephant, tied to a stake in the ground. It's not aware it has the power to leave this little shackle that it's in. But I think the elephant of us is waking up, which I love. And it's happening fast. I travel all over the U.S., all over, basically just the U.S. Occasionally Calgary when the vaccine mandates lift. But I see it. I go to some of the most, I would say liberal cities, but they're really, the archetypal communist cities. And I just see so many freedom-loving people, free-thinking people, even in those cities where the news would tell us, no, this is the most compliant, kind of narrative-towing city. Yes, there's those people, but holy Lord, just with my feet on the ground and my own eyes or my own perspective, I see so many people waking up, even compared to 2 years ago. If you remember 4 years ago, it's like you probably felt like you were part of the silent minority. And now we're really part of the majority. And I think the more vocal we are, where we just tell the truth, say what we think, that helps us reclaim our freedom. So I think it is not only possible, I think it's in process right now.
Mm-hmm.
We have the ability to make a vote with our currency choice, and the vote for Bitcoin is very, very clearly a vote for a better future and for a better quality of life and for a better future for our coming children. And the signal is all scrambled from Fiat and government bodies and regulation interfering with every aspect of our lives. But the markets are still out there, like, fighting and trying to find out, like, what our requirements are, what each kind of us as individuals is looking for. And Bitcoin is this place where we can get, like, some accurate price signal, and we can get some accurate information on what we should focus our resources on as producers. And that really cleans up, takes a lot of this power that they've had for a long time of, like, making the decisions for us, making in all areas. And I'm looking forward to that intensifying over time, and especially the ability to transact with each other without anybody else knowing. Like, JP and I can do a deal, and I would think about how many people on the earth don't know that deal happened, versus when you make a payment with your bank account or with your credit card. The amount of other eyes that see that transaction, and a lot of people will say that, like, well, actually, like, Bitcoin is not private, and it's got, and I think that you should just shut the fuck up, because Bitcoin is a lot more. If you compare the information that's leaked with your credit card, or the information that's leaked with your bank account, or kind of any other form of fiat payment system, Bitcoin is in a much, much better place. And that gives us, as producers, a lot of freedom to create without these barriers that have been forced upon us, and these roadblocks and this red tape that is in every industry. So just like little things like that are slowly unchaining and kind of breaking the shackles are going to go exponential as Bitcoin continues its rise, and it's going to create a much happier place for us to function in. And when you do, we cannot escape commerce in our day-to-day. And when you do commerce in a way that there can be trust in the person that you're dealing with, has like a really serious obligation, especially in these local communities that are spinning up, to, like, their name is their name. They have to deliver a product that is of quality if they're going to ask for Bitcoin in exchange for it. And all of this just is starting to slowly scrub the damage that fiat disposable culture has applied to us since 1971.
Yeah, so maybe just by living it, like by being consistent, we are, like, you create and you work and you try to transact with Bitcoin, you be consistent in all of your areas of your life, then you are actively changing this culture, because the other person who might not have wondered about it, will see it in the real world. And so I'm a hopeful person, like very optimistic. So I also think that if we are like, we keep it consistent, we are true to what we believe in, we can be actively shaping it into the direction that we foresee as a good one. I've been thinking lately, this is maybe a bit weird, but that art manifestations are, if something exists in the fiat world, is because maybe it's also serving the fiat masters. So I was wondering about, like, art and cultural manifestations in general, if that's the case. And from one side, well, we know about the art being used as money laundry, or maybe as other things like that, like tax evasion or whatever, like they do. But I was wondering more about it being like a tool to drain people's impulses. So it's very focused on, like, express yourself, and like that's all about it, but don't say anything. Like, just express your feelings or what is inside of you, but don't have a purpose, maybe. And I wonder what do you guys think about that take?
Yeah, the way, in my opinion, the way fiat currency is set up, it seems like it's a perfect setup to drain people of their soul, and just kind of like getting out there for a second, like, good morning. I think the end game of the globalists and tyrants, their end game, I don't think it's money. I don't even think it's physically controlling people. I think right now we're in a war for the souls of humanity. Rudolf Steiner had a quote, and if you don't know who Rudolf Steiner is, look him up. He invented the Waldorf school systems. He invented biodynamic farming. In his life, he wrote over 100 books. So over 100 years ago, Rudolf Steiner said, and I'm paraphrasing the quote, but you can look it up, it's pretty good. He said, one day medicine will be using vaccines to steal the soul of humanity. And I think I believe there's potentially truth in that. I wish there wasn't, but it seems like it's a very important quote to consider how it could be true. And with a war for the soul of humanity, I don't think vaccines are their only mechanism I think fiat currency is. And as you mentioned, people get invested in trying to find happiness via things and via a currency that money just cannot buy. Yet we continue to try to pursue happiness and fulfillment in ways that inherently offer zero happiness and fulfillment. So to me, it looks like fiat currency, whether it was set up and intended to be so, I don't know, but it seemingly is being used to help steal the soul of humanity with zero trust, zero sovereignty. By the way, one of the markers of someone who has their soul is they're a sovereign individual. Bitcoin offers sovereignty. Fiat currency does not offer sovereignty. We saw what happened to the Canadian trucker convoy. We saw bank accounts left and right being shut down. We see that fiat currency can be a mechanism of essentially spying on people and controlling people. There's no sovereignty in that. Therefore, there's no soul in that. And I think continuing to march in that direction while expecting to retain the soul of humanity is a mistake. So for me, when I look at Bitcoin, it really is a spiritual phenomenon, just captured in whatever digital way it's created. I'm not smart enough to even know how to spell my name, and it's just JP. Let alone, I don't know how Bitcoin actually was created at a hands-on level, but I do believe it's actually a very spiritual thing. And right now, I think we're in a time of spiritual warfare. And I think Bitcoin was, whether Satoshi knew what he was doing or not, or it was just channeled through him, I do believe Bitcoin is something that is helping humanity have a chance to retain our soul.
Yeah. It's absolutely a war on souls, and the end game this is where the well-meaning but daft socialist has a disconnect, is that it's not about greed and accruing capital, it's about accruing souls. And we can look out at everything that we've seen over the last decades, and happy men cannot be ruled. So kill their happiness. Thinking men cannot be ruled. We don't want any thinking men. In the pursuit of these souls, it's in every layer. We can talk about the products being shittier, and that has an effect on our life. But the primary effect is that it's discouraging, and it vacuums the joy out of life, and it really kind of it crushes our ability to focus on things that are more meaningful and that are kind of outside of this sort of fiat cage that they're working to keep us in. From if you look at the communist architecture here in Canada or in former communist countries, you can see that it is these places and these spaces are designed to suck out all the creativity and all the inspiration, so that all the person within the space has is the instructions or the orders from the all-seeing eye. Versus when we look at European cathedrals, and even there were beautiful architectural projects in the United States in the past, and there are still some left. But when you walk into a cathedral and you look into the ceilings, all you can kind of feel is the excellence of mankind, and you can see greatness in it. and a pod box with white walls, drywall, like that's what we've been reduced to is drywall and a black box that gives us our instructions. And for many people here, obviously 1984, we're not that far off. We're in like this weird combination of Brave New World and 1984, and we're living through it. And without Bitcoin, it's just like this giant fucking wall with laser cannons and barbed wire and soldiers and spies, and it's just this obstacle that anyone who has, which is everybody, even the most like fully brainwashed collectivist thinking person, deep down why they're pushing all these collectivist ideas is actually for freedom as well. It's just a different kind of, they think that the freedom is enabled by all of these benefits and handouts, and they don't see that the freedom is created within with your own talents and your own skills. And without Bitcoin, this wall is just soul crushing, and like the entire system is set up to just block excellence and lower the shrines of like our once great civilization to the lowest possible rung, so that when new souls have ideas and they have inspiration and they have a desire to create, they see things like the paint splattered canvases that sell for 60 million. They see things like the absolute crap content that like the advertisement I recently saw from the Democratic Party in the United States that was on Comedy Central and was the most horrifically cringe thing I have ever seen. Like, anyone who has a talent is discouraged, and they don't see a path to success, because if you have a skill like a photorealistic drawing and you have a desire to make stuff, and then you see splattered paint as like broadcast as like an achievement of man, it's like, I don't know how, if that's what's succeeding, I don't see the path to get there, because I can just do that. I can just splatter on a canvas or make something fucking horrible and put it out, whatever it is, and there's no success that comes from that, because all of these like very mediocre and very horrible things are like pushed from inside clubs and actors within the fiat system that have incentives, like we mentioned earlier, money laundering and tax evasion and all that in the art space. And there's a disconnect from someone who has a desire to be great and the path to success. And hopefully Bitcoin, first of all, says, hey, see that giant wall? There's a big fucking crack in it, and if we all just start pushing through it, we're gonna blow this fucking wall apart, and we can get back to the greatness that used to be celebrated and used to be well recognized. In the best and most obvious example is the Renaissance times, and we can show to the young person who is ready to that wants to produce something great that there is a way where, like, because the proper format is that you continue to improve your skills, get better and better and better, get more and more well-versed, you learn more things, and then you combine like the new knowledge with skill, with like your feelings about the world and the future, and that's kind of your fuel to create. And I think Bitcoin enables like a path that shows that re-highlights that success, and it's no longer this like confusing jump that doesn't make any sense, where the person, whatever it is they want to create, can't see the path to get there, to get to success. So without the ability to see that you will be rewarded for the great work that you've done. Like, why bother? Why bother trying? And, I think, JP, you're likely a massive inspiration to many people out there who have something to say and have something to broadcast. And, before your success, there was not really a path if you were to make the kind of, the jokes that were not politically correct or whatever you would say for the longest time. But now, like, JP has shown a path. And I'm hoping to do that with MADEX as well, and show that, like, Bitcoin is a place that you can come and you can sell the best of yourself. You can be the best of yourself, and you can be in an environment that continually pushes you to achieve more and more and improve the quality of your work, and then further inspire others that are beginning their creative journeys or whatever other journey that they're on.
Hunter Biden is a hell of an artist, isn't he? And also, I just love that. I love that message. And one of my takeaways from that is you can't enslave yourself to freedom. So don't be fooled when we're doing the enslaving ourselves thing, thinking that we're making ourselves freer. And shout out Hunter Biden.
Yeah, I think we were talking also like about these empty creations, like these ugly buildings, and I think that's by design. As you said, beautiful or creations and strong creations inspire others, and I don't think they want people to be inspired. I think that's why I was wondering about that question. Is it's a tool. It's a tool, and it's celebrated. So you see these horrible paintings or horrible buildings being celebrated as if they were like these amazing creations of humanity, because those things don't inspire no one. So they can keep us quiet. And I think since Bitcoin, that has like opened this place. I know some people have been like maybe in this fight for longer or whatever, but Bitcoin, it's like enabling it so many areas, and it's giving us the possibility to create. And I see it for myself. I started doing my Bitcoin art in 2020, and those first collectors are the ones that are actually helping me be here today, because Bitcoin appreciates in time. So those collectors and every collector that I have they give me this thing that is super valuable and that is going to get even more on time. So you go back to kind of this way it was, I don't know the name in English, but in Italy, like back then when they were like sponsoring the artists, so the artist could take like 4 years to finish a painting. There's no way you can see something like that in the Fiat world. So, and also we have been talking about it, but I would love to go like even deeper in how do you guys think, like really like physically, or what aspects do you see that make Bitcoin fix our culture for the people creating and for everyone?
Yeah, how Bitcoin can fix our culture. I mean, at one level, and I think it does many things, but at one level, Bitcoin is a store of value. And what woke me up to Bitcoin just like a little over 3 years ago, I'm ashamed to be late to the party, but I was watching a video with Michael Saylor, and he just used a simple analogy. Like when you store your value in fiat currency, you're basically holding ice, and it's melting away. And that really woke me up. And I realized, our store of value, yes, it has a very literal sense, like our currency, how much we can buy from it. But really, money, currency, it's a symbol of power. So I think with Bitcoin, it allows people to actually hold their value, hopefully have their value grow, but certainly not melt away due to reasons that are beyond their control, whether it's just the government's printing a bunch of money or whatever the reason is that's causing inflation, causing your ice to melt away. But Bitcoin allows us to keep our own power, and we need that power. We need that power to put food on our table. We need that power to do whatever it is we want to do. One of the things we need that power for is to take ourselves out of a fight or flight response. When we're in a self-preservation mindset because, okay, money's scarce, food is scarce, we're just all about survival. But when we accumulate enough value, accumulate enough power, now those instincts, our reptilian brain, it's not as activated. So then we can go into the self-realization aspects of our beautiful, miraculous humanness. And Bitcoin can help us do that because we simply retain our value. The value probably grows, and thus we can be more of a self-realized human rather than just living life as a self-preserved human. I don't know if there was any value in what I just said, but I definitely said it.
Whatever it is you're offering, if you begin to interact, like if you begin to accept Bitcoin and deal with Bitcoiners as your clients, at that moment in time, in the same way that being early on Bitcoin is very good, and just buying it for yourself, building a client base of Bitcoiners is an even better way of acquiring coins, because you're essentially planting seeds, and so long as your work delivers the value accurately that in the exchange that you make, like the price for and the Bitcoin you receive, over time clients stick with you, and we're all in this sort of Bitcoin raft that and we're all rising together. And your client base in the beginning with whatever you're doing, everybody's has their whatever they're able to spend in those moments, and over time as Bitcoin grows, we're all becoming more valuable, and so your client base also becomes more valuable. And if your investment in your practice continues to increase in quality as well, then you will never lose those clients, and over time those clients will have more and more purchasing power, more and more ability. They'll be better and better financed. So the projects that you're working on, as long as you keep up with improving your skills, the reach, the scope, and I guess the pricing that you can apply to that work, you have immediate access to clients that you've built a history with. So the most common feedback I get from MADEX is tons of messages just about really thanking the project and talking about how it's very inspiring, and that a goal is to acquire MADEX at some point when Bitcoin rises, or when their business becomes more successful, or whatever they're working on sort of whatever their mission is comes to fruition. And so over time, you could sell whatever it is. In my example, it's art. I could sell a $100 print to somebody today, and that same client is 10 years from now somebody that will buy a $500,000 painting. So because of what we're all working here to build, and then also what Bitcoin just does, which if you're new to the space, just ignore it, but number does go up, and the cycles are real, and all you have to do is acquire the Bitcoins, improve your skills and shut the fuck up. And everything will just continue to improve. And if you are your Bitcoin, it's kind of like when you do a transaction with fiat. After the transaction is done, you have the goods and service, and then sort of the relationship is over because that fiat is the melting ice. When you do a transaction with Bitcoin, you're like passing a share that is going to go up to the person that you've interacted with. So it's like no matter what, if you buy something with Bitcoin, it's like you are making a long-term investment in that person, product, or service, and you are ensuring that even if they just kept what they're doing the same and they don't grow and make the improvements, they're still going to be around in 5 years, if they take care of the Bitcoin properly, right? But so when what I'm really focused on right now, and what we all have to give a big hand to Ben for here, and to Francis in Costa Rica, and to other actors like Satoshi Labs is doing a huge amount of work in Prague and in Czech, and all these places in the world where these economies are being created within Bitcoin. It's like we're all kind of investing like the profits from the work that we do into this thing that's going up, and we're securing our businesses into the future. So I'm trying to orange pill. I won't orange pill anybody, but I will put a lot of effort into orange pilling my carpenter and my plumber and my farmer and any of the people that are providing something that I want to have in the future, because as this fiat system collapses and implodes, an extremely capable service provider that accepts Bitcoin and an extremely capable service provider, like equal skills, that does not, one of them is not going to be here in 5 years because they're just going to get crushed by the weight of this mess. And the other one, who is building like a treasury reserve in Bitcoin, who is incentivized to improve their skill because of their Bitcoin clients, they're still going to be there. And those are, so when you make the choice to spend Bitcoin, you're making an investment in that person's future, and you're making a play in hopes that content creator, that artist, that contractor is still going to be here in 5 years, and hopefully that their skills will have improved and lifted as well. So choosing to transact in Bitcoin is like guaranteeing your ecosystem for that. So when all of this blows apart, like, you are still able to provide for your family, your friends, and those around you, and you're in a position where you're not going to have your soul crushed because the infrastructure that supported you is there. Whereas if you're operating on a fiat, everybody's turning over. You're not going to be often working with the same people twice because it's getting harder and harder and harder to survive and to stay in business, and that's just going to keep going. And people only have so much stamina to like fight this creature from Jekyll Island, and if you don't take the medicine, the future is not so bright.
Yeah, beautiful. I want to thank you guys. We have to wrap it up. And it's been super interesting talking to you about this amazing topic. And we hope we can all go and be creative and live on the Bitcoin standard as much as we can, and just be an example to our inner, like you said, like the people we interact with, and make the change we want to see in the world.
Right on. Thank you, Flo. And thank you guys for being
so
here and entertaining our perspectives. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.